Hey guys, today we're checking out a PCI sound card from AOpen. It is the Cobra AW850 with the C-Media CMI8738 chipset. Recently we did a few Windows 98 and DOS projects using PCI sound cards, and when searching on eBay I came across this AOpen sound card. These are new old stock cards, so I got in contact with the seller if he could send us such a card to check out for a video review. They sell for $19.99, are sold by Scott's Obsolete Computers on eBay, and you can find a link down below in the description. Okay, with that out of the way, let's have a quick look at the box. We can see that this is a 6-channel PCI sound card. On the front of the box we have some nice art of a Cobra and 3 logos showcasing some bundled software. On the side is a list of driver support. Windows 98 SE is what we're after. It doesn't mention DOS, but there are DOS drivers floating around and we will check out if there's anything on the CD. At the back of the box we can see that the card is direct sound compatible, and here it does mention DOS compatibility with OPL3, Sound Blaster Pro and Windows Sound System compatibility. Also a picture of all the inputs and outputs, but we will take a closer look at that very soon. Inside the box we find the sound card, there's a driver installation guide and the Cobra sound card installation CD-ROM. Let's take a closer look at the card. Here we can see the chipset from C-Media, model number CMI8738, PCI-6-channel-LX. It also has head-related transfer function 3D audio written on it, so I'm eager to find out what this sounds like. We have headers for CD-ROM, auxiliary and modem, as well as a PC speaker input, which is nice. I haven't seen that before on a PCI sound card. J11 is labeled as digital CD input, but the pins are missing. This might be something you can add yourself though. At the back of the card we have a line input, but there's a note on the card that this could also be an optical input. The pink port is for the microphone, the green port is the main output or for the front speakers in a surround setup, and we have the black ports for the rear speakers, and the orange ports are for the center and the sub. There are jumpers on the card that lets you swap around the center and subwoofer configuration of this orange port. And finally we have the game port that lets you connect a joystick or gamepad, but it also acts as the MPU401 MIDI interface, so you can connect a Roland sound canvas for example. This port does work under Windows, in DOS from within Windows, as well as in pure MS-DOS mode. So let's put this sound card into our test machine, which is a slot 1 PC with a Pentium 3 600. We've got an FX 5200 video card, 512 MB of RAM, a 16 GB SD card, there's an optical drive, and we've got an XFX power supply driving it all. Let's have a look at the drivers first. After you install the card, Windows 98 will detect it as a new device. Just cancel the wizard and let's have a look what's on the disk. The drivers installed just fine, and all up it installs 4 devices. The CMI8738 device, a legacy device for DOS, the MPU401 for DOS, and also the game port. The driver version is 4.06.00.1096 from July of 2001. I had a look on the AOpen website, and the driver on the CD is actually newer than what's available on the AOpen website. The only newer drivers I've been able to find are all WDM drivers. On the disk we have version 0638 from June of 2002, and on the AOpen FTP I found something even newer, version 0644. We're also getting what appears to be a software synthesizer for MIDI, and listening to the onestop MIDI file, it sounds quite basic, nothing special. But for now, let's try out a few Windows games and see what this card can do. For this video, I've added the full-length recordings at the end of the video. That way we can cover everything in the usual amount of time, but if you want to listen to the games a bit closer, you can do this now. Check the description for time codes to help you navigate. We got the onestop MIDI file, Windows games as well as DOS games. In Quake 3, going into the sound options, we can see that the A3D option doesn't seem to be supported. At least we are unable to enable it in this game.
Open up the reactor complex so we can get down to safety.
I'm sorry, but those doors will not open until we send the all clear.
Trying out Half-Life, we can confirm this. The game does let us enable A3D, but the resulting sound is quite bad. Depending on the position, you can hear sound effects double coming from different locations. It really sounds broken, and playing like this, you will likely get a massive headache. Let's check out EAX compatibility. Here we have Need for Speed High Stakes, a very good test to check if EAX is working. Also in this game something sounds off. Firstly, the engine sound seems to cut in and out, and we also don't get any reverb when in tunnels or surrounded by mountains. Another game I tried is Incoming. Here we can hear quite harsh transitions when the sound goes from left to right, and we can also hear the sound getting cut off with clicks. So yeah, I think we got to check out some of the other drivers. The newest driver on the CD is in the Windows Millennium folder, and looking at the AOpenFTP, I found some even newer drivers. These have the version 5.12.01.0643, so we're gonna go with those drivers and let's see if we can get an improvement. Unfortunately in Quake 3 we still can't enable A3D. In Incoming, not much has changed. We are still getting the sounds cut off with some clicks, and yeah, not much has changed here. So let's move on to Half-Life.
Open up the reactor complex so we can get down to safety.
I'm sorry, but those doors will not open until we send the all clear.
So send it already.
I would love to do that, but the aerial bombardment has made a wreck of my transmitter.
This time we are disabling A3D, and now it doesn't sound too bad. We're getting 3D positional audio over headphones, which is nice, but it sounds a lot lifeless compared to a card with proper A3D support, with the reference card being the Oriel Vortex 2. There's plenty of reverb going on, so this makes me quite hopeful that EAX support might be working now. So we're back with Need for Speed High Stakes, and the game now sounds a lot better. We've got EAX working, we're getting decent reverb in the tunnels, for example. However, comparing this to what the game sounds on a Sound Blaster Live, for example, we are still quite a bit off. The radio chatter, for example, has a bit of distortion going on, and the game just sounds a little bit hectic, and listening with headphones, it will wear you out quite quickly. So these newer drivers have added EAX compatibility, but it's nowhere near as nice sounding as with a Creative Card, for example. So let's check out the DOS drivers. From within Windows, we're good to go. We've got a Sound Blaster Pro on address 220, DMA1 and Interrupt 5. In Doom, we're getting the sound effects. Unfortunately, there is no FM support. They must not have implemented it in the drivers, which is odd because in pure DOS, FM actually works. So let's have a look at proper MS-DOS mode. The drivers for pure DOS are included on the CD and come with an installer. You run the install program and it will update your AUTOEXEC batch file. However, looking at that batch file, it puts the entries right at the end, and with my boot menu, that means they won't get processed. So that's an easy fix, just cut and paste them to the top of your AUTOEXEC batch file. Then I restarted the PC, and here we can see the drivers loaded and we're ready to try some DOS games. Let's check out the FM chip first. Again, there are longer recordings at the end of the video. Check the description for time markers. Listening to Lemmings and Monkey Island 2, well, it sounds very nice. I'm hesitant to say that this is a real Yamaha OPL3, but whatever it is, it's one of the best implementations on a PCI sound card that I've heard so far. While testing the FM chip, I used the setmul utility to disable the processor cache. This slows down the machine to roughly 286 levels, which is perfect for playing Wing Commander. And indeed, here we have Wing Commander running at pretty much the perfect speed. This can be quite a tricky game if it runs too fast, but I prefer it to run actually a little bit slower. It makes the tough missions a bit easier. This was also an opportunity to test the game port. Yes, no problems, it works just fine, so we have support for analog joysticks in DOS as well. I also quickly tested the MPU401 MIDI interface. Yes, that also works great. Here we have Descent running and you just select a general MIDI device at address 330 and you're good to go. Unfortunately, I had issues getting Sound Blaster sound going. Prince of Persia, for example, is a good test. If it defaults to Adlib for sound effects, well, then you know you got a problem. The Descent setup didn't output anything either, and neither did Epic Pinball, and Doom just crashed altogether. Now at this point, I was pretty much done with recording and capturing everything. I had some dinner, took a break, and gave it another shot with trying to improve the DOS compatibility. So I started moving the sound card into different PCI slots. At first, right next to the graphics card, still no luck. Moving it to the second PCI slot, and what have we got here? The output from the driver looks a bit different this time. The PCI interrupt is now 5. So my heart rate is going up, the suspense is killing me. Let's try out Prince of Persia, and yes, there it is, that beautiful Sound Blaster sound at the start of the level. Let's test a few more games. Unfortunately, the euphoria was short-lived. Duke Nukem 3D, Descent, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis and Epic Pinball would still not give me Sound Blaster sound. Doom is still crashing, but look at that, Wing Commander 2 fully works. A bit slow with the CPU cache turned off, but at least it's working. The CD version of Space Quest 4 also fully works, and so did Wolfenstein 3D. So it seems that the Sound Blaster support is a bit limited. Some games will work, but many others won't. I also checked out the claim for Windows sound system compatibility and couldn't get any game to work with that. And looking at the datasheet for the chipset, there's also no mentioning of Windows sound system compatibility, so it looks like AOpen's marketing team was a little bit too optimistic. Now all this DOS compatibility stuff depends a lot on the chipset. I had better compatibility with a later VIA chipset motherboard, so I will definitely use this card in future projects to see if that makes a difference. So I guess it's time to wrap up this sound card. Firstly, it's nice to get new old stock items. The experience of having the box and the original driver CD is always something special. The drivers are easy to install, but for Windows the older VXD drivers aren't very good, so I recommend going straight with the latest WDM drivers. Unfortunately, despite the chip having HRTF 3D audio written on it, it struggled with the A3D and EAX APIs. A3D wouldn't work at all, in Quake 3 you couldn't enable it, and Half-Life sounded very broken. So did Incoming. And it was only EAX support that worked well enough in Need for Speed High Stakes, but even in this game, a Sound Blaster Live just sounds so much better. DOS performance was somewhat better. We're getting decent Adlib and OPL3 compatibility and the FM chip sounds really nice. But many games wouldn't work with Sound Blaster, although some did. So that means trying out whatever games you are into and seeing if they work. So yeah, while this isn't the greatest sound card, let's not forget it's only $19.99, new old stock and from a decent brand. I have used some of these generic C-Media cards from eBay and got massive interference on some systems, whereas with the AOpen version it was absolutely fine in that regard. Also, there are cheap models out there with non-functioning game ports. They are missing some components around that area. And then there's always the possibility that in the future the community might fix up the drivers and improve DOS compatibility. For example, from within Windows the Sound Blaster compatibility is actually pretty good, it's just missing the FM support. So if someone figures out why the Windows drivers are so much better and can tweak the DOS drivers, then that would be really awesome for the community. Now just a few words about what's going on behind the scenes with a project like this. Before reviewing this card, I spent a lot of time putting together some sort of a test procedure that lets me make a fair judgment of PCI sound cards. I use disk imaging to start fresh with every sound card, as leftover DLL files that can cause unexpected issues. I chose the Slot 1 platform as it's a good system that marks the transition from DOS to Windows, from ISA to PCI, and is often picked for building a hybrid DOS and Windows retro gaming PC. I've also spent a lot of time just listening to various sound cards, especially the Unreal Vortex 2 and the Sound Blaster Live, so I know what these games can sound like when they are properly supported. Testing other cards should be a lot smoother now, as I've done the hard work and everything is more or less ready to go. So there you have it. We had a look at the A-Open Cobra AW850 with the C-Media CMI8738 chipset. As always, I'm looking forward to reading your comments. What do you think of the sound card? Have you had a C-Media branded sound card before? And what is your favorite Windows 98 and DOS hybrid sound card? Also coming up next are full audio recordings for DOS, Windows games and the onestop MIDI file. Do check the description for all the time markers. Now, if you found this video interesting and you want to see more content like it, please subscribe if you haven't done so already and click on that notification bell, because subscribing is not enough for YouTube. Give it a like or dislike and share it with your friends. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you soon with another one.
to the HEV Mark IV protective system for use in hazardous environment conditions.
Open up the reactor complex so we can get down to safety.
I'm sorry, but those doors will not open until we send the all clear.
So send it already.
I would love to do that, but the aerial bombardment has made a wreck of my transmitter. The cables are severed. We'd have to aim it by hand. And I'm getting high radiation levels in the transmitter dome. Nobody but a fool would go in there.
What about this guy?
Yes, you could survive in that suit of yours. Very well. I will lower security on the satellite access elevator, and you can go up into the dome. I'll try to help you over the intercom.
I'll stay here and guard this area. See that shot? Bet you're glad I got this old sidearm on me, aren't you? Ooh, something tied down here. Okay, why not? Didn't want to die. Okay, I'll wait here.
Vital signs are dropping. vitals.
Giving you a warning, but I'll be watching for you.
45 to county.
Unit 45, go ahead.
Responding for cover. 37 to county.
Go ahead.
We're going for you.
Unit 37, copy.
45 to county.
Go ahead.
A spike strip is deployed near the bridge.
All units be advised. A spike strip has been deployed.
37 to county. I have a speeding Porsche near the wood tunnel.
All units be advised. Be on the lookout for a Porsche.
37 to county. Additional units required near the hairpin.
All units, C-Media 7, designated assistance.
In pursuit of a red Porsche at the Ice Canyon.
Roger that. Unit 45, what is your status?
I'm cruising near the bridge.
Unit 37, request an update on your situation.
I'm on patrol as the wood tunnel. Rotor 1 to county. I've spotted the suspect past the tower.
All units be advised. Rotor 1 has located the suspect past the tower.
45 to county.
Go ahead, Unit 45.
He missed the spike strip.
The suspect is past the sand station. The suspect is past the wood tunnel. The suspect is past the hairpin. The suspect is near the pipe tunnel.
45 to county.
Go ahead, Unit 45.
Suspect is in custody.
Roger that. Rotor 1, this is dispatch. Request helicopter assistance at the hairpin.
Copy that.
Rotor
1 to county. I have the Porsche in sight at the pipe tunnel.
All units be advised. Rotor 1 has located the suspect at the tunnel.
The suspect is near the large tunnel. Rotor 1 to county. I've lost visual contact with the subject in the large tunnel. You just don't seem to get it, do you? This is your final warning.
Next time, you'll be riding with me.
Unit 31, request your location.
I'm near the ice canyon.